Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Michael Fillios, founder and CEO of IT Ally and a CDO editorial board member. And we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Tony Mazzarella, Director of Data Governance from Voya Financial. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
If you were, speaking with a person who wanted to pursue, data analytics or some field of data science or governance, and they're early on in their career, what advice would you give them?
Just do it. I mean, I talk to a lot of data people, like that are data people now, and not a single one of us was like 5 years old sitting there saying, I want to lead a data governance program, or I want to be a data modeler, or I want to be a data scientist, right? Just weren't. We all ended up here because that's where our path took us, and we found an interest. So if there's an inkling of interest in, really at any point in your career, make the switch. Because, early in the career, it might be easier to make that change, right? But later in the career, if you've spent an entire career in operations, there's valuable knowledge there. And if you have interest and you think you're savvy on the data side of things, give it a shot, because we need, really good, smart problem solvers in this field more than ever. And that's not going to change anytime soon.
Well said. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about technology and how that comes into play with the way that you manage data governance. And of course, in larger companies where you've got scale challenges and otherwise, but I'm sure our audience is interested to know how you are thinking about technology and using technology to enable, whether it be data governance or the types of tools that would be leveraged to support the overall data, capabilities at Voya.
Yeah, I mean, technology, like I said, I don't like to overemphasize it, but it is incredibly important. Right, it's an enabler for what we're trying to do, especially with a small team. And so we're making a lot of progress on maturing our metadata practice, and we're bringing in data governance tools, cataloging tools, data quality tools. We're looking to automate as much as possible, because we don't have a large team, and we're not trying to be a large organization. We don't have a lot of formal stewardship throughout the organization. So, getting folks to buy into what we're trying to do and to leverage these capabilities, they need to be able to do it in a way where it's not their full-time job. So any help that we can get from technology to make that experience easier, to, automate things, to leverage workflow where it makes sense to make things quick and efficient and provide a good experience is really critical to our success right now. I think you just have to be really thoughtful on what you really need and what what is going to be practical for those needs, because there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Right. There's a lot of vendors doing a lot of great stuff. But you gotta right size it for your own needs and with an eye on scalability. But I think, I am excited about the direction that these tools and capabilities are going, as far as pipeline management, operational and technical metadata in the cloud, and the uses there. Some of the AI that's popping up in data quality monitoring and those tools, I think are really useful in the right situations. And I think that the most interesting thing about technology in the context of data governance is that our job changes as the broader technology landscape changes. And with that, we're also, we also need to make sure that the technology that supports our needs advances along those same lines. And so we're, anytime we're bringing on new technology like this cloud thing that we have going on now, right? that's caused us to revisit a lot of, how we're capturing metadata, where we have opportunities to automate, where we can leverage technology to implement controls that we need to protect our data and those assets without creating new friction and making it more difficult to manage our data and deliver. Because at the end of the day, you're constantly balancing control against speed to market and your ability to deliver on these capabilities and get the value from them.
Absolutely. And I'll give you advance notice here. This is a bonus question. And because you brought up Zachman, and, I've been speaking a lot to CDOs and people in data leadership positions and talking about the parallels of that evolution of that role with the CIO, which I see a lot of. And in particular, as it relates to enterprise architecture, right? And enterprise architecture being a concept that if you talk to the C-suite about enterprise architecture, their eyes are going to roll, off in the back of their head. So I see a lot of similarities then in the way that you have to speak about data governance. And I'm just curious from your perspective, how you position data governance, as this methodology or concept or approach when you have differing levels of understanding in the C-suite, and still try to be able to get the benefits of what data governance brings to bear, right? Similar to enterprise architecture methods, whether you're using Zachman or other frameworks, right? So trying not to make it academic is the point. And how do you make it practical? It's always
my go-to oversimplification of what data governance is data management are the decisions you make about data. Data governance is how you make those decisions, right? We provide a framework for how to make those decisions about data. And, just like the Zachman framework, gave a methodology to envision the functions of an enterprise, right? And I think that, you draw an interesting parallel. I think there's some really great dynamic parallels there too, right? I mean, data was very focused on IT, and for a long time, enterprise architecture was heavily focused on the IT, on the technical side of that, right? And now, as data governance is evolving more into, we realize the necessary focus on business. Similarly, we rely heavily on business architecture now. Right. To help us better understand the landscape and govern it. So, as far as articulating it in the value, it really comes down to, again, just really being oversimplifying it to start a conversation, and then easing into the specifics and with a focus again on value and aligning it to the organization's goals and purpose.
Very good. Well, we're going to leave it at that, Tony. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course. My pleasure.
To learn more about CDO Magazine or to view more interviews, please visit cdomagazine.tech.